Okay, what's up, guys? This is Kronos of Text. You can call me Kronos. And we're going over the pen testing framework, pen testing for dummies, steps that every pen tester can follow. Okay, so we're going to be basically going over everything you need to know in pen testing as a beginner so you can understand the framework. I knew that when I first started pen testing, I didn't understand anything. Right? I didn't know anything. I didn't understand anything. Everything was just very confusing. So this is probably the best way to learn it if you're just now getting into the industry, because I'm creating the overall framework. You're going to be confused unless you have the entire framework so that you can start to fill out the details within the frame. So we're going to go over everything you need to know, all the steps to being a successful pen tester. So that way you can understand each part of the game. Okay. So step one is information gathering. So what information can be gathered without scanning or enumerating the network? Excuse me. Okay, so basically, can you gather information? So if we're going to try and gather information from Google headquarters, okay, what information can we gather from looking at the building? You know, what information can we gather from the people who work at the building, from the employees? What information can we gather flying a drone around the building? Okay, what information can we gather doing all these different things, right? What information can we gather from Google? So basically, you know, if we were going to look at a street view on Google and look at the building that way, what information can we gather that way? Friends and family, same thing. Social engineering attacks. A social engineering attack, for people that don't know, is basically when you clone a website, a social media website like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, and you send the person a link. They click on your link, they go to the social media website, they log in, and then the page reloads as if something happened, but something did happen. What happened was you got all their information, and now you're able to log into their social media account. Okay, you can gather plenty of information that way as well. So that's basically the beginning. You just want to be able to gather information without actually doing anything to the network. Okay. Now, if all this fails, then we want to start to step two, which is scanning the network. Okay. Most of us in the industry are going to use a scan called Nmap. Nmap is used to scan the network. Okay. It scans all the ports. I believe there's about 65,000 ports, and it scans every single port unless you you have to put all ports. If you don't put all ports, I think it scans the first 10,000 or 16,000 or something like that, the more frequently used ports. But if you want to scan every port, I'm not going to go over the details of how to do that. Maybe in another video when I'm actually inside of Linux. But yeah, you want to do something to scan all the ports. Finding open ports. Now, there's a couple of known ports that most hackers are going to know about, like port 21, which is FTP, right? If you don't know what FTP is basically a file transfer protocol. So it's a way to transfer files over the network. Okay, port 22, SSH, which is secure shell. Port 80 is HTTP. It's a web server. Okay, those are kind of the known ports. There's more known ports, but I'm not going to go over all of them. Right, just giving you the framework, right? Scanning the network. Okay, finding what we can enumerate for more information. Okay, so basically what can you dig into to gain more information? Okay, so then we move to step three, which is enumeration. Enumeration is basically digging deeper for more information. Okay, so at this point, you've seen what ports are open. Maybe FTP is open. Now you're going to dig into the FTP port to look for more information. Okay, so you're going to Google these ports. Now let's say that HTTP was open. Then you're going to enumerate the web server. Okay. So essentially, I'm not going to go over everything, but let's say the web server was a WordPress website. You found out that the person has a WordPress website, and their website is called Double Chocolate Strategies. Okay. And then they have a website, and then you hack into their website, or you could look on their website and find more information just by looking through the pages of their website. So most websites are going to have an author, okay, and a domain name, okay, and the author is usually linked to the username, okay. So now you just got a piece of information, which is the username that you could use to further exploit the system. Once you finish enumerating all ports, not everybody enumerates every port, right? But as a beginner, you want to enumerate every single port there is and get as much information as possible before going through with the exploitation process. Okay. Next is exploitation. Okay. Actually infiltrating and gaining access into the network. Okay. So some exploits are going to gain you access into a web server backend. So for example, if you're trying to gain access to a WordPress site, and you have the username and the email, you can run an exploit. I think it's cross scripting, and you can get into the web server. You can get into the back end of the web server. Other exploits will give you access to the remote computer. So you actually have control over that person's computer, and you'll be inside of the computer, whether they know it or not, and you'll be able to kill certain processes or initiate certain processes. When you're exploiting, you want to use something called searchploit. I have a video on the channel. If you don't know how to use searchploit, look at that video. I go exactly over how to use searchploit. And you want to use searchploit to find exploits based on the information that you gathered during the enumeration. Okay. So for example, if FTP is open, then I might searchploit for FTP and see what exploits come up for FTP. And then I'll look through the exploits and see, okay, well, there's an exploit here that requires a username and an email address. And during my enumeration process, I was able to gather both of them. So I'm going to exploit using this specific exploit. You can also use Metasploit to exploit. I personally love Metasploit because Metasploit actually has a stronger shell. It's called a interpreter shell. It can do a lot more, including copying and following the keystrokes. So whatever the person types in, you're able to get all that information, or you're able to screenshot, or you're able to access the webcam. You're able to do a lot of things with interpreter shells. And as a defense to this, you want to always keep your webcam covered physically, okay? So people can't actually look through your webcam because it's actually physically covered, okay? And last but not least, persistence. So persistence being you want to escalate privileges into the network. Sometimes when you access the remote computer, you might just be a user on it, and you may not have access to certain files. You may not have, you just don't have full control over the computer. So the first thing you want to do is escalate the privileges and gain full control over the remote computer. And then you want to create ways to get back into the network. So if the person kills a process that you're in and essentially booting you out of the system, you want to create multiple ways to get back into the network in case that happens. Okay. And if you're someone who's being hacked, and someone trying to use persistence on you, you essentially want to shut down your computer. You want to kill all the processes and shut down your computer, eliminating any way that they can come back into the network. Okay. That's basically it, right? Once again, as a recap, okay, this is pen testing for dummies. Step 1, you want to do some information gathering. Step 2, you want to scan the network right? See what ports are available. Step 3, you want to enumerate and get as much information as possible on these ports that are available. Step 4, you want to exploit. Okay, so actually infiltrate and gain access into the network, and actually punch through the wall. And step 5, you want to create ways to get back into the network and escalate privileges so you can have full control over the remote computer. If I was to recommend something that you guys can practice in to become good pen testers, you guys can use something called Hack the Box. That's www.hackthebox.eu. Okay, this is where they have little hacking games that you can play where you basically have to use your hacking skills to capture the flag. And the flag is usually within someone's remote computer in a certain file, probably on a desktop. So you basically have to hack into their remote computer, get on the desktop, find the file with the flag, and get the flag. So it's great practice to learn how to actually enumerate and exploit and go through the steps of pen testing. If you guys have any questions, you guys can send me an email at chronosoftech@gmail.com. I'll leave that in the description below. And also with the exploitation search exploit, I do have a video on here that goes over everything that you need to know about search exploits, searching up exploits, and using exploits, whether you're using them with Python or using them with Metasploit. Okay, and I go step by step inside Kali Linux, so you'll know exactly how to do it, exactly what to do. Okay, and that's the end of the video. I'll leave my search exploit video in the description below, so you guys can check that out. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm out.